Hey guys, it's Anime Oji-san, and today I'm going to share about this gem of an anime, Pluto. I'll start off by saying, Netflix gets a lot of things wrong, and that's a bit of an understatement. And I don't know if I'm still over the Cowboy Bebop live-action series.
What the actual fuck?
But when they just let creators, especially Asia-based creators, do their thing, some great things are produced as a result. And I would say, Pluto is hands down the best anime of the year. Pluto is a manga series written and illustrated by one of my favorite manga artists and storytellers, Urasawa Naoki, creator of such classics as 20th Century Boys and Monster. If you haven't seen the anime adaptation of Monster, check it out. Unfortunately, there has never been an anime adaptation of 20th Century Boys, but they did make a live-action trilogy that was pretty good. Pluto ran from 2003 to 2009, ending 14 years ago, so there's pretty much no way that the anime industry in Japan would have adapted it if it weren't for Netflix. There are 8 episodes of Pluto. It's technically an ONA, original net animation, which just means it's an anime that was directly released on the internet rather than being broadcast on television. I like that because it allows the director and studio more freedom. You don't have to work within a frame of 12 to 13 episodes of 20 minutes each. For Pluto, each episode is roughly an hour long, and each episode corresponds directly with one volume of the manga. The series is actually based on the Greatest Robot on Earth arc of Tezuka Osamu's Astro Boy, known as Tetsuan Atom in Japan, first appearing in 1951. The arc can be found in Volume 13 of the Kodansha publication and Volume 3 of the Dark Horse translations. The project started with Urasawa wanting to do a serious take on The Greatest Robot on Earth, his favorite arc of Astro Boy, for Atom's official birthday. But when he reread the manga, he realized that he had created his own version of the story in his head. He persisted in trying to get a meeting with Tezuka Osamu's son until he got permission to go ahead with it, with the promise that he would make the story in his own style. And Urasawa did, working on Pluto while also working on 20th Century Boys at the same time. The basic storylines of Pluto and the Greatest Robot on Earth arc are very similar, but at the same time, they are completely different stories, with different themes, depth, and tone. First, I'll go over a comparison of the original arc in the Astro Boy manga with the Pluto anime. There were Astro Boy anime adaptations covering the arc, but everything comes back to the original manga, and the Pluto anime is very faithful to the manga. There will be a certain degree of spoilers, so if you haven't watched it yet, please stop watching this video and check it out first. The plot of The Greatest Robot on Earth is pretty straightforward. The Sultan, Chochi Ababa III, who was deposed in a rebellion because of his lavish lifestyle and lack of concern for his people, has the mysterious Dr. Abula create for him a robot built to be the king of robots, Pluto. In order to prove that Pluto is the strongest, the Sultan orders Pluto to destroy 7 other powerful robots around the world. That is Pluto's primary objective, to destroy other robots. The plot of the Netflix anime follows the same basic storyline, but it is more complex, with the original plot reformulated into a science fiction detective murder mystery/thriller. In a world where humans and robots coexist, a beloved robot mountain guide and a human are found murdered in separate incidents, both with makeshift horns adorning their heads. As the murders continue, it is found that the humans who are being murdered were all part of the Bora Survey Group, a group of observers dispatched by the UN to investigate whether Persia was creating robots of mass destruction. And the robots that were destroyed all took part or were somehow involved in the 39th Central Asian War. There are no signs that a human committed these murders, and at the same time, robots are all programmed to be unable to kill humans. The 7 powerful robots are Mont Blanc, the Swiss mountain guide, Atom, North No. 2, the Scottish butler, Brando, the Turkish wrestler, Gerhardt or Gesicht, the German police inspector, Hercules, the Greek warrior, and Epsilon, the Australian child caretaker. The Netflix anime follows this formula closely, although Gesicht is now a detective with Europol and the focal character for much of the plot, as it is a mystery thriller. In the original, Pluto mainly uses his horns to electrocute his enemies, causing them to explode. He is also able to spin, causing a tornado, which he mainly uses as a means of transportation. The fights between the robots usually come to a conclusion fairly quickly, wrapping up in a single page, usually with Pluto just grabbing the robot and zapping them to pieces with his horns. In the Netflix anime, because it is a mystery thriller, we don't actually see the fights in the first half or even see who or what Pluto is. It isn't until later in the plot that we see Pluto in action. He has the same basic weapons, but the way he uses them is different. One important thing that happens in the Greatest Robot on Earth arc is that after the battle between Pluto and Brando, Pluto is severely damaged and left to Atom's mercy. Atom chooses to spare him, pressing a button on Pluto's body that will call his master to come to him. This act of mercy begins to affect Pluto, who is only created to destroy other robots. However, as a result, the Sultan has Dr. Abula plant a bomb in Pluto that will self-destruct if Pluto ever loses again. In the Netflix anime, every episode is filled with twists and turns, and I appreciate how Urasawa gave each robot their own deep backstory and how they connect together later. One plot point that was added is the trope where Gesicht makes repeated visits to an imprisoned robot, Brau 1589, the only robot ever to have killed a human, a la Silence of the Lambs. It's an additional thread that runs throughout the show that intertwines nicely with the other threads. In the Greatest Robot on Earth arc, horsepower is used as a measure of a robot's strength, with Pluto being 1,000,000 horsepower and Atom only being 100,000 horsepower. After being spared by Pluto, Atom begs Dr. Tenma, his creator, to upgrade him to 1,000,000 horsepower so that he can fight Pluto on even terms. However, Atom goes berserk after the operation because of the sudden surge of power, flies off to fight Pluto, is defeated, and sinks to the bottom of the ocean, only to be saved by Pluto with Epsilon's assistance. In the Netflix anime, there is no standard for comparing the relative strengths of the robots, and the operation that is debated for Atom is not related to physical or technological strength per se. I won't spoil it for you, but the nature of the operation is related to what is the ultimate form of an AI robot and what separates humans and robots. As a result of the operation, Atom escapes from the facility, overcome by the results of the operation, but the struggle he faces is not a physical confrontation with the enemy, but an internal one. In Astro Boy, during the final confrontation between Atom and Pluto, the fight is interrupted by an exploding volcano, and Pluto overcomes his single-minded programming to help out Atom in stopping the eruption. He no longer wishes to fight Atom, and a stronger robot Bora appears, created by a mysterious newcomer, Dr. Goji. Bora and Pluto start fighting, with Bora having the upper hand, so Atom helps out, and the bomb within Pluto explodes, destroying both Pluto and Bora. Dr. Goji reveals that he was not only Dr. Abula, but also the Sultan's former servant, and makes the Sultan promise to never make robots again. I won't spoil the ending of the Netflix anime, but there is a depth to all of these occurrences, and all of the different strands of the plot come together nicely in the end. Okay, that's it for today. I shared some differences between the original Astro Boy manga and the Netflix Pluto anime in hopes that it will help you appreciate this masterpiece even more. If you haven't checked it out yet, please do. Some people say it's a little slow at first, but stick with it, and I'm sure you'll be happy you did.